Well, hello, and welcome to episode 217 of Drink the Movies. I'm Brian here, as always, with Michaela. And if you've been following along with Drink the Movies for any sort of time now, you know that we have a tendency to go see all of these Marvel films, good, bad, or indifferent. A total of seven Marvel films we've covered now. Michaela, that's pretty good. I think we've even maybe done a couple of Patreon episodes about some of them. I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah, seven. And we're talking about the Thunderbolts today, the newest one. We made it like 70 some episodes before we talked about our first Marvel film. But now Marvel is back. People say that Marvel is back. The Thunderbolts are back. New Avengers. I don't know. We'll talk about it.
We're going to talk about all the things. I can't wait. I will say that the previews for this were mixed. People had mixed reactions, I think, to the previews. I think you and I both looked at each
I didn't
other
have mixed
with
reactions.
us. Well, we were part of the mixed reactions because,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
yeah. So Stephen Michael's dad, my son's dad, was like, "This is going to be the best ever." Stephen Michael, my 10-year-old, was like, "This is going to be better than Endgame." And you and I looked at each other and just did a collective sigh of resignation as to what we were going to be watching. And so I think what's interesting is that all of us went to the theater, not the same time, but we all went to see it,
Mhm.
and we all had a very, very interesting kind of a smaller spectrum of feelings coming out of it than going into it, which I think is good for the film. It's good for the film base.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it seemed like it was not going to be that good, and then kind of the initial reactions to it were pretty high. So I got a little bit more interested in it, and we're definitely looking forward to the Fantastic Four. So spoiler for post credits there. So with that, let's go ahead and take a quick break, Michaela. We need to mix up a cocktail that is worthy of the Thunderbolts. Asterisk, I guess that's what the title of the movie is. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and grab a bottle of gin. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back to mix up this week's drink.
And we can build this drink together. All it's got is gin and
Wow,
vermouth and
we
triple
just got
second lime
we
juice.
just got copyright strike right there from Michaela's singing. I thought it
Probably. All
was I
right.
thought it was I thought it was a real deal. Yeah, today we're
Nothing's
doing
gonna stop
nope
us
nope
now.
we're something's gonna stop you. The mute button's gonna stop Michaela if she doesn't cut it out. But today we are making a Thunderbolt. It is a cocktail. It comes from the book The 12 Bottle Bar. I'm not sure where they got it from. I had seen somewhere that it was first created in like the 1970s, but then I was having a tough time finding that website again. So I don't know for sure, but yeah, this has all the makings of something that seems classic. It seems timeless, kind of in a way. And on first appearance, it seems like it might not be that good, but once you taste it, you're like, oh, this is actually really good. And maybe that is akin to Thunderbolts. Maybe that's where it comes in.
Maybe. Like I've said, I'm not going to sing it anymore because you will mute me. But I don't know. You sent me this, and you were like, "This is what I got," because you had seen the film before. I was given a chance to see it, so we didn't like decide a cocktail. And you were like, "This is what we're going to do," and I was like, "I don't know, triple sec and lime juice." So it's all it's like the flavorings of a margarita, but with the gin martini back. It's just kind of a strange, but it actually works pretty well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned the margarita ingredients there, and that's kind of the first thing that catches your eye, right? Because this is definitely
Mm.
a martini. It starts with 3 ounces of gin. So go ahead and grab your shaker tin and let's mix one up, and then we'll talk about it. So 3 ounces of that gin go in there with some ice. Go ahead and add a quarter of a teaspoon of dry vermouth. So that's not very much. It's less than a cap. I had a bar spoon out to stir my martini, so I did like half of the bar spoon ish, roughly. And then it calls for 1 teaspoon of triple sec. So again, I just did about a full bar spoon's worth of that. Then some lime juice. I just squeezed in roughly like a wedge of lime juice into there, and then went ahead and I stirred mine. And then strained it into a well-chilled martini glass. I garnished it with an orange peel. You could do a lemon peel, and then I sipped. And I was thinking, like initially, I'm like, okay, this is going to be very gin forward. It's going to be kind of like a martini, but how exactly does the triple sec work in this? How does the lime juice work in this? And I have to say, it was awesome. It was like an orange tinted like dirty martini. Because you had a little bit of the lime, which replaced kind of that brininess that you would get from like the olive juice in a dirty martini. But then you had like this like pop of citrus, and I used Cointreau in mine. So I think if you use like a Cointreau or a Grand Marnier, that orange is going to be really nice and clean. It might be a little more wonky if you were using like a cheaper triple sec here, but yeah, it was just like this like thunderbolt of orange flavor in there. And I have to say, I really like this. I was really surprised how much I like this.
Yeah, I was surprised too because again, I thought it was going to be. I don't know. I at first I thought it was a tablespoon of triple sec and not a teaspoon, so I was real concerned that it was just going to be this orange weird thing, like an orange gin. I don't know. I was very hesitant. But I think that you hit this. You were spot on with this. The triple sec, if you're going to use, and I also use Cointreau, it adds this like just freshness, but like a sweetness and almost just I don't know, like this golden feeling. I don't know how to really explain it. Like the gin, and it depends on the gin that you pick, obviously. But it's definitely very boozy. It's definitely very gin forward. So if you don't like gin, you're not going to like this drink. But the triple sec actually added like just a beautiful, well-roundedness to it, as opposed to kind of like you said, like a briny, very dirty gin martini, or even something that's just got a bunch of olives in it, maybe not tons of juice. But I thought this was really nice, and I had never even heard of it. I'd never seen it before. I hadn't I did no idea that this existed. So I'm really excited because now I can make a different kind of martini.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's just another martini you can add to the tool belt there, and I like it because it does give some fruit flavors. So if you have someone that maybe is not completely on board with a martini and doesn't really want to do something sweet like a chocolate martini or an espresso
Mm.
martini or something like this is just kind of sweet enough maybe. So maybe it would be a good like entry like point
Hmm.
in a martini for someone. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. I thought that it was great, and definitely looking forward to playing around with this one a little bit and trying out a couple more of these, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
All right, so well, now that we have those made, Michaela, let's go ahead and mix up another one. We'll grab those and we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back to chat about this week's film, Thunderbolts, Asterisk, New Avengers. We'll be right back.
And you, former Red Room assassin. God only knows the blood on your hands.
Pretty ludicrous coming from the dime store Captain America.
I'll have you know I was actually the official Captain America, so.
Yeah, for like 2 seconds.
Spoiler warning for Thunderbolts, asterisks. If you've not seen this film, it's made a ton of money. Maybe not a ton. It's done pretty well. And it's only been out a couple of weeks as of this recording. So if you've not seen it, we are going to talk about all the things. There's a lot of interesting kind of Marvel-esque spoilers, and we're going to talk about them all. So I recommend pressing pause on this episode until you go see Thunderbolts. And if you decide not to do that, that's fine. But what you should definitely press pause and go do is make yourself a Thunderbolt cocktail because it is delicious. And especially if you've never had one, it's a treat. It is now my new favorite cocktail to make, or my favorite martini to make for sure. So you've been warned. Spoiler warning, Thunderbolts. We're talking about all the things. Yes.
Absolutely, yeah. It was just released here a couple weeks back in 2025. It's directed by Jake Schreier, who has mostly been doing some television directing. So you might have seen some things that he's done. I believe he just did an episode or two of Skeleton Crew, the Star Wars show that
Mm.
was just on. So that's who is directing. And this one stars Florence Pugh as Yelena, the new Black Widow, Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, David Harbour as Alexei, the Red Guardian, Wyatt Russell as U.S. Agent John Walker, and Hannah John Kamen as Ghost. That is our those are the Thunderbolts right there, Michaela. That's who that is. We also get in this one we get Bob. He's played by Lewis Pullman. And the always glamorous and amazing Julia Louis-Dreyfus is playing Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, who apparently is the head of CIA. I had never really understood what her role was in the government, but apparently that's what she does. There you go.
There you go. And I gotta say, Lewis Pullman, okay, he is Bill Pullman's son. That is correct. If you're thinking to yourself that you know this name, that's where you know him from. He has
And he only
been
he only plays characters named Bob.
he
So
only plays characters named Bob. I mean, oh, he stole it. The first time we probably saw him, perhaps, was Top Gun Maverick, where he played Bob. He played a guy, I think he played a guy named Robert in Bad Times at the Elm Royale, which is an amazing film. If you've not seen it, it's definitely one of those sleeper films. It could be considered a cult classic because no one had ever heard of it. At least I hadn't ever heard of it until I saw it. randomly, and I was like, this film is amazing. It's one of the best films of 2018. Fight me. I'm right. Anyway, he does a great job being Bob, being a guy named Bob, who also ends up being like this anti-hero of the whole
Mhm.
film, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about it.
Hero, anti-hero, Bob can do it all for sure. Yes, absolutely. So, basically, the gist of this, right, is Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. I'm gonna keep saying her full name because that's great. She has this like secret project going, right, and it's starting to leak out. So she sends all these characters to go shut it down, right? She sends Yelena there. She sends Ghost there. She sends John Walker there. She also sends Taskmaster there. And Taskmaster's on all of the like promo materials for this, and then spoiler, Taskmaster just gets like taken out in the first like 1 minute of the movie. So there you go on that. But it turns out it was all just a big plan to get these loose ends tied up. They're going to be incinerated, but in the process, they discover Bob, who goes, and then there's all this to do with the Century project, which is what Bob was an integral part of. And how are this cast of misfit characters going to come together to, to either get the one up on Bob or get the one up on Valentina Allegra de Fontaine? That's kind of the gist of the movie there, Michaela. So let's talk about the team here, the Thunderbolts first, right? I mentioned Yelena and John Walker, U.S. agent, and Ghost are
Mm.
there at the beginning. They also recruit to the team Alexei, the Red Guardian, right? Yelena's dad, and then Bucky Barnes comes into the fold here as well. So let's talk about the team first, and then I want to talk about I guess my highlights of the movie of them. But what do you think? What do you think here about the Thunderbolts, the
Um,
B squad of the Avengers? I guess.
so when I first saw this preview, I was like, oh my gosh, they are basically remaking the Guardians of the Galaxy. Because it had
Mm-hmm.
that like misfit, like no one kind of fits together, no one likes each other, and yet somehow they're going to have to band together, which is a little bit different, I think, than the original Avengers, which was like people who genuinely had mutual respect and care for one another, and then they were
Hmm.
all like, they had this the Civil War and all of that, right? What I found interesting was that we found these people at all of them, except for Ghost. I don't quite remember Ghost's backstory. Don't hate me. But it wasn't it.
Ghost is an Ant-Man and the Wasp from 2018. If you didn't remember, because I didn't, had to ask your
No, I
husband.
knew that.
Oh, okay.
I knew that. I knew that
I
piece, but
didn't.
like we didn't
Like, who the heck
find.
is this Ghost character?
Right, right, right. You mean you haven't rewatched Ant-Man and the Wasp 18 times since then?
Nope.
Good, because nobody else has either. But one thing I found interesting about all these characters is that they all had a darkness to them. They all were coming out of a very bad time. So Yelena Belova, she is played by the amazing Florence Pugh. She just lost her sister. She is still working as an assassin, but she feels this void and this emptiness. And she hasn't talked to her dad or the guy who's kind of her dad. um, and her dad is also really sad because he lost his other daughter, as Natasha in as the original Black Widow. Sebastian Stan is kind of the only one here who has continued to kind of uh, emulate goodness and kind of grow into themselves, right? Like he's
Hmm.
acting as like a rookie, or what do they call it? Like a what did they call him? He's in the House of Representatives, but he's like a
Hmm.
rookie
Yeah. Yeah. He's like
politician.
a
It's like his
yeah.
very first term. He's only been in it for like 6 months. Um, but like everyone else, if you don't know who Wyatt Russell or John Walker is, it's because you missed him in the uh, Falcon and the Winter Soldier because he was the first Captain America. He was the white Captain America that ends up like becoming this awful human and is now kind of picking up the pieces of his life. So all of these folks have these really dark backstories that are filled with like loss and um like I said, like this dark voidness where they are trying to pick up the pieces. And it's interesting because all of those pieces kind of come together to tell the story of Bob Reynolds slash Century slash Void, right?
Hmm.
Bob was in a very dark space. He was part of this experiment, as you talked about. He kind of shows up in this room, and they all kind of have to work together to get out of this escape room, which I find interesting. And some of those scenes are great, but when they realize power that Sentry has. He has the ability by touching someone to take them back to moments where they are least proud, moments where they've done something horrible, and they've all done something horrible. So that piece I thought was really an interesting way to take it, and I had no idea that we were going there by looking at a preview. So I thought that was really good. I thought that was a really smart move to hide that from the audience until we actually got into the film.
Yeah, I like that quite a bit actually. Because one of the brighter spots I think of the Marvel period that's come since Endgame was Falcon and
Mm.
Winter Soldier. We talked about that show, a fair bit when we were talking about, Captain America: Brave New World, and how it kind of built off of that story, and how, in a lot of ways that story, usurped the new Captain America film. But part of what that series did was it really kind of took a look at Bucky Barnes and his mental state, right? It did a lot of stuff between him and his therapist kind of in that. And this is kind of a continuation on that, right? Kind of really dwelling on, the psychological aspects of these characters. I didn't notice it really with Ghost as much, but it certainly does with Yelena. And then kind of the relationship that she has then with Alexei, her father, there in the story, and then obviously into John Walker, who has certainly had his own demons, and going through the highs and lows of becoming Captain America, and having everyone kind of turn on him, and being like an unresponsive father and stuff. I thought that stuff was really beautifully played. And then of course it does get into, as you mentioned, Michaela, the kind of the darker upbringings, and trauma and things like that Bob had experienced as well, right? Being, going kind of through this Century program. So I thought that all of that stuff was really well done as far as the film goes. Bob, is a member of the team there, I guess, at the start as they kind of break out of this facility, and it does get a little bit jokey here and there. That was my big hang up from the trailer too, was that you brought up the good point that it seemed like it was going to be like this Guardians of the Galaxy kind of thing, because the trailer is all like quips and things, and certainly the Disney MCU universe is quippy, but it seemed like it was going to be more of that, like more of like this humorous slant, and that's really not how the film came out. Which is surprising that they'd portray it one way, and it turns out to really not be all that quippy, by and
Hmm.
large, right? Right. It's really kind of few and far between. But as Bob comes out of there and more or less sacrifices himself so the rest of the team can get away, and then he's back under the confines of Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, back into this program that's going to turn him, I guess, from Sentry into the big bad of this thing, right? Void, which is, I guess, like the evil version of Sentry. So let's talk about that a little bit. And so what do you think about Void here? What do you think about Bob's turn? Was it a little? I don't know. It seemed like
It's pretty
it went.
fast.
It was like a complete 180 real quick, I thought. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if they could have taken a few more minutes to kind of explore that a little bit. When he comes out and he's like in gold and blue, I think, or gold and white, and his hair is changed, and they're like, "Oh, you dyed your hair." And there's kind of it's supposed to be like this funny moment where he's like, "Yeah, she told me to," and I don't know if I like it, and but it's like super fast. The way he goes from being like this broken character to believing and doing whatever Valentina Allegra de Fontaine says, right? Like, I don't understand that quite as much because it took her 30 seconds, it felt like, to turn him into Sentry. And then he
Yeah.
gets really mad and he turns himself into Void, who's basically just this really dark, like, he looks like a black hole in human form with some like shiny eyeballs like into the dark. I really loved that effect. But when Yelena goes into kind of the psyche and into the dark underworld or whatever, wherever they end up being, they're like in a fun house full of rooms of
Hmm.
horrible places that they've all done horrible things, or they've been exposed to horrible things and like abuse and just awful stuff, right? Like there's like a fun house that they go into when they go into Void, under Void's control, and it takes all of them to do this, and it takes a long time for Yelena and the team to kind of talk to Bob somewhere in deep in this kind of underworld place, right? And I find that it didn't seem to fit to me because Valentina Allegra de Fontaine literally takes 30 seconds, and Bob goes from this broken character to like Century. And then it takes, I don't know, the rest of the whole movie to take Void back to being just Bob again. And
Mhm.
I don't mind that it took 30 minutes to get there. But I found the switch in the meantime, the first switch, to be way too fast, if I'm going to be critical.
Yeah, for sure. Because he was this very like meek and timid character, right? And we was getting on with these people, right? Helped him escape, and then I was like, whoa, he just did like a 180, like all of a sudden, right? And then it's kind of the back half of the movie is trying to work his way back from the void, I guess, which is kind of neat. It's kind of metaphorical, and I like that quite a bit. I did too. I just thought that the turn there was a little quick, or there was no like substance to it, but that's okay. There doesn't always have to be substance given to these sorts of things. So I liked it from that standpoint a lot. I like kind of the flashbacks, especially Yelena. This is more. It's called Thunderbolts, but this is more or less Yelena's film here to be propped up. She
Mm.
gets given, I guess I guess she was a Black Widow, but she given the mantle of Black Widow, like in the sense of like how the Avengers thought of Black Widow in that stance. So it seemed to me really more of like her story, and we get to see more of her like background and upbringing, and you'll see her kind of in the woods with that other like young girl there. They
Hmm.
talk about that. They talk about this the soccer team that she was on, which is how they end up getting the name for the Thunderbolts. So which I thought was fun, and I also think that it's fun that she was terrible at soccer. It's kind of the joke in there as well. So I thought that that was good, and I really liked kind of the moments between her and Alexei. Especially kind of when she first goes to see him, and he's there watching, I don't know, like the news and like old commercials and like old like footage of himself and all of these like historical things. Kind of reliving the glory days and things like that, and is basically just itching to have someone ask him to come be of any sort of help. And that's what happens, and they kind of reunite. They share some vodka, which you could drink if you don't want to mix up a Thunderbolt cocktail. You can do that, or you can have a glass of champagne, as Valentino Allegra de Fontaine does in the film as well. So I thought that that stuff was really good from like a character building perspective, which was something that I completely did not expect to happen in this film after watching the previews for the last year.
There was a couple of moments where in the preview where Yelena says, "Oh no, that was really good." I loved the exchange between Yelena and
Alexi.
yeah, Alexei, thank you. Because they both really needed each other, but they didn't know how much they would need each other. And because of the environment in which they were kind of grown up in or lived in for much of their adult life, it was very hard for them to reach out and ask for help or say that they needed each other after all of this stuff had gone down in Black Widow. And so I really liked that. I don't know. I was expecting this to be much worse than it was. I thought it was much better in terms of some of the character development. Again, I really like Bob. I am a huge, huge fan of Lewis Pullman. Everything he's in, I want to go see just because he has some great range. And you can really see it in this film. And it sounds kind of strange because it is a Marvel superhero film, but you see this real darkness that he portrays. And then when we go back in time and we see like footage of him coming into the program, and he's like basically, he's drugged up. He calls himself a junkie. He's like trying to steal. He didn't know when he was signing up for this if he could just go in and steal stuff to sell for drugs, or if he could actually like make a difference. And you see all of that, and that's much more realistic than when he's flying through the air and turning people into these weird like I don't know, ash. It looks like ash shadow.
Yeah, they're like ash shadows. Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Ash
Um,
shadows. Say that three times fast for for sure. Yeah. So I thought that the film looked pretty good. I mean, because there wasn't anything like crazy, like bombastic, because you don't have Iron Man flying around, right? Or you don't have, Falcon flying around and stuff like that. So other than Bob, when he's kind of turned into this void character, and he's more or less just kind of floating, like meandering kind of through the city, just annihilating people left, right, and center as you do. So, but I thought that it looked really good and really kind of practical, and kind of honed in on this team, right? They even have the line that you see in the trailer, right? None of us can fly, or we all just
mhm.
shoot shoot and punch, right? Yelena says. So I thought that it was good, and it was a much kind of tighter and smaller scale of a story, which I appreciate a lot. It reminded me kind of a lot of like what they tried to do with Shang-Chi until it kind of went to, kind of more bombastic there towards the end. But it really felt like it, kind of took the scope and made it smaller so they could tell this more kind of personal story, which I really appreciated. As we're getting into I don't know, whatever wave or whatever they're calling this part of the MCU now, right? And it's all to, set up what is coming, I think, more or less. It's to get Yelena out there front and center, maybe John Walker, I guess, to that. And, it's still, I guess, to be seen what role Bucky Barnes is going to play in all of this. It seems like Bucky's never had a chance to kind of shine and be on his own or be like in the lead of these things. Like even in this, he felt very much like a supporting character to me on the
Yeah.
team.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, and I would hazard a guess, right? I think you're absolutely right. I think Yelena's going to become some sort of central character. I think we're going to get to witness kind of the Jean Valjean forgiveness and coming back of Walker there, right?
Hmm.
Because his wife and child have left him, and he's got some soul searching to do. He's got to come back. That's going to be kind of interesting. What I think we're also going to see more of is Valentina Allegro de Fontaine, right? We saw an interesting tidbit, right, about her past. And why she is kind of this power hungry person. I loved her speech where she said, you grow up thinking it's right and wrong, and really it's just wrong and more wrong.
Hmm.
She was very just completely jaded and disillusioned with things, and she really believes that she is one of the better guys. If there are no good guys, she is one of the better guys, and I thought that we're going to see more of her because she doesn't, even though she's the worst, she just uses this whole thing as a ploy to announce the new Avengers. And now that's opened up a whole can of worms with Sam, who's not in this film at all, but they reference him a lot because he is now,
Hmm.
he's the new Captain America, and he is creating his own Avengers apparently. And or
Right.
which Avengers are we going to be part of? And all of that. So I think this was a good vehicle for getting some more of these characters out there. I do wish that we had seen more uh insight into both Bucky Barnes as well as Ghost, because I feel like they were kind of left to the sidelines as supporting, and we only used Ghost when we really needed to walk through walls or
Hmm.
that sort of thing. I didn't see much about her, and to be honest, they didn't set up anything in the story for me to care much about it.
Yeah.
It was right. I was like, oh, I mean, I knew who she was, barely remembered her, and then it was like, okay, whatever. Which is a shame. I felt so much more towards wanting to see more of Bucky Barnes because he's such a pivotal character in the original Steve Rogers story, and really, and as Winter Soldier, doing all these horrible things. Right, I would have liked to have seen. Uh, Something more along the horizon for him, because I feel like all he has done is be a support for the old Captain America, the new Captain America, the new Captain America, and
Hmm.
now the new Black Widow. And he's like 90, he's like 100 years old now. Like we should be doing more with him. I mean, he's got this really cool mechanical arm, and that's really all we're seeing is cool stuff that he's doing with that.
It's dishwasher safe, so that's good.
It is. That's important.
So there you go. Absolutely. So yeah, and then of course you get kind of into like I don't know, it's like the mid-credit scene, or it might have even been before the credits really even started rolling, and she does and Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, announces these as the new Avengers, right? She's able to spin, which I guess is something you need to
Mm.
be good at if you're the head of the CIA, probably. So spins this as a win in her favor, and then 9 minutes later, after all the credits, you get to see a little sliver of a spaceship with a four on it. And yeah, of course, obviously, we all know Fantastic Four is coming. It's been playing in the previews for the last year at the movie theaters. So will this tie into the Fantastic Four? I don't know for sure, but of course, that is what's coming, and that's going to be the big, huge one there. But yeah, I don't know. I was very surprised with this. it was not without flaws by any means, but it was really good, and I think it did a good job. We've talked about the last couple of Marvel films that have come out that it seemed like they were, you know, really like just trying to go and like hash back and make sure that you remembered all of this stuff, which is
Mm,
fine to a point. But this one, it felt more like they were, progressing the story forward as opposed to rehashing what you loved about the MCU 6 years
right.
ago, right?
Yeah.
So
Or 10. Gosh, was it only 6 years ago? It feels like such long time ago.
2019, yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I definitely think, look, everything since Endgame, I can count on two fingers, movies that I would watch again, that are Marvel movies, after Endgame. And this might be one of them. Yeah. I think if you're not steeped with fatigue in Marvel and you are excited about Fantastic Four, I think this will set that up really nicely. Fantastic Four is something we're going to cover later this summer when it comes out. But I think that in order to enjoy some of that, you're going to have to do some homework. But I think this keeps you from having to watch, I don't know, all of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This keeps you from having to watch the original, the Black Widow film. I don't know. If you, nah,
Yeah, there you
I
go.
don't know.
There
I
you
don't
go.
have much more to say about it.
Yeah,
It's
for
worth
sure.
seeing.
It's worth seeing. 2 hours and 7 minutes. You can get through there. And actually the 7 minutes, like I said, is all credits going to that end credit scene. So yeah, so that is Thunderbolts. It was a good time. To be quite honest, I was happy with it. I was happy with it. And in a year that is full of movies to go see, this one was a good watch. So check it out if you're into the Marvel of it all, or if you're interested to see how things are progressing. If you're not too burnt out after Captain America, the what was it even called? Captain America, the new
Oh, Brave
America.
New World.
Brave New World, that's what it's called. Yeah, if you're not too burnt out on it after that, definitely give this one a shot and see what you think. Maybe having the smaller characters in there was a nice change of pace for everyone. So let us know what you thought about Thunderbolts. Let us know if you're planning to go see Fantastic Four. Let us know if you loved the film Black Widow, because I did. Thought it was pretty good. So you can do all that stuff. You can let us know that. Let us know if you make a Thunderbolt cocktail. Do all that stuff. Do it on our social media. It's at Drink the Movies on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky, and Facebook.com/Drink the Movies. You can go to our website, www.drinkthemovies.com. That's where we have episode recaps, pictures of the cocktails, links to the merchandise shop, links to Drink the Video Games, links to Patreon. All that stuff can be found there on the website. Speaking of Patreon, that's where we get our bonus content going. We got bonus episodes, we do cocktail chats, we do movie hangouts once a month, all with our patrons. Go to patreon.com/Drink the Movies for more information on that. And you want to stay tuned because if you want to see what we think about Fantastic Four when it comes out, or maybe something that we're talking about next week, you're going to want to make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast. Where can they do that?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, uh, Good Pods, anywhere where Spotify podcasts are supported and distributed. What you're listening to right now, I guarantee there's a subscribe button. We do 2 drops a week. We talk about a lobby bar drink in our lobby bar. It's a drink anybody, even you, can make. And we talk about all the things going on in the box office. And then we do our deep dives like the one you listen to right now. We do old movies, we do new movies, we do all sorts of things, and we take requests. So if you don't see in the 217 other films that we've covered your favorite film, send us a note. We'll cover one. We'll make a cocktail for it. We'll do all the things. It's a good time.
That's right. We'll do all the work. You just sit back and listen and get a cocktail out of it to boot. So, yeah, absolutely. So that's going to wrap it up here for episode 217, Thunderbolts. Asterisk. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time on
Drink
Drink
the
the
movies.
Movies.
And we can build this dream together. Now, listen, I do have to say one thing. When I
Hmm.
heard that in the preview, I got so mad because everybody who's anybody knows that that came from Mannequin, which is one of the best, worst films of 1986. But I have to say, by the end of this movie, I was like, yes, I see it. I see what they did. I see why they did it. And I liked it. And it was okay.
Well, there you go. Jefferson Starship. Don't come for it.
I'm just a fan.